hat happened on your birthday that still keeps you up at night? I turned 32 on a Saturday in June, and my girlfriend Lisa threw me a surprise party at our apartment. I came home from the gym around 7 and found 30 people crammed into our living room yelling surprise. Lisa had invited everyone I knew, work friends, my brother Kyle, college buddies I hadn't seen in years. The first hour felt completely normal. Pizza boxes stacked on the counter, beer in the cooler. Someone brought an expensive cake from that bakery downtown. People were laughing and talking, and the music was too loud like every good party. But around 8:30, things started feeling off. My coworker Marcus kept checking his phone every few minutes with this weird expression. Not bored or distracted, something else. Worried maybe. He'd look at the screen, his face would change. Then he'd look directly at me before quickly looking away. My brother Kyle showed up an hour late and immediately pulled Lisa into the kitchen. I could see them through the doorway, having this intense whispered conversation. Lisa with her arms crossed, Kyle gesturing frantically. When I walked over to ask what was going on, they both went silent. Lisa said they were just discussing when to serve cake, but Kyle's face was pale and he wouldn't look at me. People started leaving way earlier than expected. My friend Josh said his wife wasn't feeling well. Rachel claimed she had an early morning meeting. Dave just hugged me, told me to have a great year, and left without giving any reason. It wasn't even 9 p.m. yet. Lisa's phone kept buzzing. Every time it did, she'd glance at it and her whole expression would shift. Then she'd excuse herself to the bathroom. This happened 5 times in an hour. When I finally asked if everything was okay, she smiled and said work was being annoying. But Lisa worked at a bookstore that closed at 7. There was no reason they'd be texting her at 9 p.m. on a Saturday. My college roommate Eric pulled me aside around 9:30 and asked if I'd talked to my mom recently. I said yeah. She'd called that morning to sing happy birthday. He nodded slowly and said that was good. That was really good actually. Then he grabbed his jacket and left. I didn't understand what he meant. By 10 p.m., the apartment was down to maybe 8 people. That's when I noticed Marcus and Kyle standing by the window having a quiet conversation. They kept glancing at me, then at their phones, then back at each other. When I walked over, they immediately switched to talking about basketball playoffs. Lisa came out of our bedroom with red, puffy eyes like she'd been crying. I asked what was wrong, and she said she was just emotional because she loved me so much. But her hands were shaking when she handed me another beer. The remaining guests had gone quiet. Usually at this point in a party, people get louder and more relaxed, but everyone was subdued, speaking in low voices, checking their phones constantly. Around 10:30, my phone rang. Unknown number. I almost sent it to voicemail, but something made me answer. It was my mom's neighbor, Carol. She was crying so hard I could barely understand what she was saying. I could hear sirens in the background, loud and close. I asked what was happening, and Carol said my mom had called her about an hour ago, asking her to come check on something. When Carol got to the house, the front door was wide open. That's when I looked around my living room and realized everyone still at my party was staring at me. Not at their phones anymore. At me. Just watching and waiting. Lisa walked over and took my hand. Kyle stood up from the couch. Marcus stepped closer. And Carol said the words through her sobs that made my entire birthday collapse into something I'll never forget. Because what I learned next explained every single strange thing that had happened that night. The rest of the story is on my channel or linked below. Carol's words hit me like a physical blow. They found blood everywhere. Honey, your mom's missing. The police think. They think she might have been murdered. The room tilts sideways. I'm vaguely aware of Lisa's arm around my waist, steadying me. Kyle is suddenly at my other side, guiding me to the couch. Everyone's eyes follow me. Their faces a blur of sympathy and horror. What? My voice sounds foreign, like it's coming from someone else. That's not possible. I just talked to her this morning. Carol is still on the phone, sobbing. I'm so sorry. The police are here now. They've been trying to reach you for hours. Hours. The realization crashes over me. That's why everyone was acting so strange. The texts, the whispers, the worried glances. They all knew. Every single person at my birthday party knew my mom was missing before I did. I'll be right there, I tell Carol, but Kyle takes the phone from my trembling hand. We're on our way, he says firmly before hanging up. Lisa, can you? Already on it, Lisa says, grabbing my jacket and keys. Her eyes are red-rimmed, mascara smudged beneath them. She'd been crying in our bedroom earlier. Not because she loved me so much, because she knew about my mom and didn't know how to tell me. The doorbell rings, making everyone jump. Marcus peers through the peephole, then looks back at me with a grim expression. Police. 2 officers enter our apartment, scanning the room full of birthday decorations and the remaining shell-shocked guests. The taller one introduces himself as Detective Ramirez. His partner, a woman with short gray hair, is Detective Chen. They ask if we can speak privately, but I shake my head. Everyone here apparently already knows what happened to my mom, I say, unable to keep the bitterness from my voice. So just tell me. Detective Chen's expression softens slightly. Your mother's neighbor called 911 at approximately 9:15 this evening after discovering signs of a disturbance at your mother's home. There was blood in several rooms and evidence of a struggle. My stomach lurches. But you haven't found her? She could still be. We're doing everything we can to locate her, Ramirez says. When's the last time you spoke with her? This morning, around 8:30. She called to wish me happy birthday. The memory of her cheerful voice singing to me over the phone feels impossibly distant now, like it happened years ago instead of hours. And she seemed normal? Not distressed or concerned about anything? I shake my head, then pause. She did say she had a surprise for me, that she'd see me tomorrow for lunch. The detectives exchange glances. Chen makes a note in her small notebook. The remaining party guests begin awkwardly gathering their things. Josh's wife, who I now realize was never actually sick, hugs me tightly before they leave. Rachel, who definitely doesn't have an early meeting, squeezes my arm and whispers, call if you need anything. One by one, they file out, leaving only Kyle, Lisa, and Marcus. Why didn't anyone tell me? I ask, once the door closes behind the last guest. My voice cracks on the final word. Lisa's eyes fill with tears. We didn't know for sure at first. Kyle got a text from Carol around 8:15 saying something might be wrong, that your mom wasn't answering her door. Then he started monitoring the police scanner on his phone. Kyle nods, his face ashen. I heard the dispatch to mom's address. They were calling for multiple units and mentioning blood at the scene. I told Lisa, and we were trying to figure out how to tell you without ruining your birthday if it turned out to be nothing. Ruining my birthday? I repeat incredulously. My mom is missing, possibly dead, and you were worried about ruining my fucking birthday? Marcus steps forward. It wasn't like that, man. Kyle texted me what was happening, and we were were all just waiting for confirmation before saying anything. Nobody wanted to panic you if it was a false alarm. I remember Marcus checking his phone throughout the night, that worried expression. Kyle and Lisa's whispered conversation in the kitchen. Eric asking if I'd talked to my mom recently. So everyone knew? All 30 people at my party knew something had happened to my mom, and no one told me? Lisa reaches for my hand, but I pull away. It spread through texts. We were trying to handle it, to get real information before telling you. By the time Carol confirmed it was serious, people were already leaving because they felt uncomfortable. My phone buzzes in my pocket. Unknown number. I answer immediately. This is Detective Sandoval, a woman's voice says. I've been trying to reach you. I'm at your mother's house investigating her disappearance. I'm on my way there now, I tell her, already moving toward the door. The other detectives are here at my apartment. Good. We'll need to ask you some questions when you arrive. She pauses. And sir, I should warn you, there's a significant amount of blood at the scene. It's not going to be easy to see. The drive to my mom's house is a blur. Lisa sits beside me in the passenger seat, occasionally reaching over to squeeze my knee when I grip the steering wheel too tightly. Kyle and Marcus follow in Kyle's car. No one speaks. When we turn onto my mom's street, the flashing lights of police cars illuminate the entire block. Yellow crime scene tape cordons off her front yard. Neighbors stand in small clusters on their lawns, watching. I spot Carol sitting on her porch steps, a blanket around her shoulders, talking to an officer. As soon as I step out of the car, Detective Sandoval approaches. She's tall with dark hair, pulled back in a tight ponytail, her expression professional but compassionate. I understand this is incredibly difficult, she says, but I need to ask you some questions about your mother's routine, her relationships, anyone who might want to harm her. No one would want to hurt her, I say automatically. Everyone loves my mom. Lisa's hand finds mine, squeezing tightly. I don't pull away this time. Can you tell me what happened? I ask. What Carol found. Sandoval gestures toward the house. Your mother called her neighbor around 9:30, asking her to come check on something. When Miss Winters arrived, she found the front door wide open. She called out, but no one answered. She stepped inside and saw blood in the entryway and living room. That's when she called 911. I need to see, I say, moving toward the house. Sandoval blocks my path. That's not a good idea. This is an active crime scene, but I can already see through the open door. The hallway light is on, illuminating splashes of dark red on the cream-colored wall. My mom's favorite landscape painting lies shattered on the floor. A lamp is overturned, and there, on the hardwood, is a smeared handprint in what can only be blood. My knees buckle. Lisa catches me before I hit the ground, but she can't stop the howl that tears from my throat, a sound of pure anguish I didn't know I was capable of making. Kyle is suddenly there, his arm around my shoulders, his own face wet with tears. We're going to find her, he keeps saying. We're going to find her. But as I stare at the blood-smeared walls of my mother's home, at the police photographers documenting every crimson droplet, at the grim faces of the detectives, I know nothing will ever be the same again. The birthday that began with my mother's cheerful singing has ended with her blood on the walls and her body missing. Lisa holds me as I collapse completely, her arms the only thing keeping me from shattering into 1,000 pieces. Sunday morning, the day after my 32nd birthday. The day after I learned my mother was missing. I sit in a plastic chair at the police station, staring at the clock on the wall. 9:17 a.m. I haven't slept. My eyes burn. My mouth tastes like ash. Lisa sits beside me, her fingers intertwined with mine, squeezing occasionally when my breathing gets too shallow. Detective Sandoval walks in with 2 paper cups of coffee. She hands one to me. We found your mother's car, she says without preamble. My heart lurches. Where? Abandoned at the Westridge Trailhead parking lot. That's about 15 miles north of her house, near the state forest. I know the place. Mom and I hiked there last summer. She'd pointed out wildflowers and birds, naming each one with the same patient voice she'd used when teaching me as a child. Was there? I swallow hard. Was there blood in the car? Some, yes. On the steering wheel and driver's seat. Not a large amount. Sandoval watches me carefully. We have search teams combing the trails now. Sandoval. Kyle bursts through the door, out of breath like he's been running. Sorry, I was talking to the forensics guy. They finished processing Mom's bedroom. Detective Sandoval gives him a sharp look. Mr. Reynolds, those details aren't. He's my brother. Kyle interrupts. He deserves to know. He turns to me. They think that's where it happened, where she was attacked. There's blood spatter on the headboard, the walls, signs of a struggle. The coffee sloshes in my hand. Lisa takes the cup before I drop it. Do you have any suspects? Lisa asks, her voice steadier than mine could be. Sandoval hesitates, then nods. We're looking at several persons of interest. Your mother's ex-boyfriend, Robert Gaines, is currently our primary focus. Robert? The name feels foreign on my tongue. They broke up months ago, in January. 6 months, Kyle confirms, but he didn't take it well. Mom said he kept calling her. I stare at him. She never told me that. Kyle won't meet my eyes. She didn't want to worry you. A cold feeling spreads through my chest. What else didn't she tell me? What else do you know that I don't? Detective Sandoval clears her throat. We recovered your mother's phone from her nightstand. The tech team has been going through it. She pulls out her own phone, taps the screen a few times, then hands it to me. These are messages from Robert, dating back several weeks. I scroll through them, my stomach tightening with each one. You can't just throw away what we had. Please answer my calls, Diane. I see you changed your locks. That hurt. I'm not giving up on us. And then sent 3 days ago. If I can't have you, no one will. Jesus, I whisper, handing the phone back with shaking hands. Why wouldn't she tell me about this? I look from Kyle to Lisa. The betrayal, a fresh wound on top of everything else. Lisa's eyes fill with tears. She told me someone was following her about 2 weeks ago. She asked me not to tell you because she didn't want to worry you with your big project at work. You knew? My voice cracks. You knew and you didn't tell me? I told her to go to the police, Lisa says, her voice small. She said she would. She called me too, Kyle admits, looking miserable. About 3 weeks ago. Said she thought someone was watching the house. I offered to come stay with her, but she said no. The revelation hits me like a physical blow. So everyone knew. Everyone except me. Marcus appears in the doorway, holding a tray of coffee cups that he clearly doesn't need anymore. His eyes are bloodshot, his normally neat hair disheveled. I saw the car, he blurts out. The one she was worried about. We all turn to stare at him. What car? Detective Sandoval asks sharply. Marcus steps fully into the room, setting down the coffee tray. About a month ago, I dropped off some files at your mom's house. Work stuff she needed to review. There was this dark blue sedan parked across the street, just sitting there with the engine running. Did you see who was driving? Sandoval asks. Marcus shakes his head. No, but your mom noticed it too. She said it had been there the day before as well. I offered to go check it out, but she said it was probably nothing. I feel like I'm drowning, each revelation pulling me further under. She told everyone except me. She was protecting you, Lisa says softly. Well, she's gone now, I shout, standing so abruptly my chair topples backward. She's gone, and I didn't even know she was in danger. The room falls silent. Detective Sandoval's radio crackles and she steps outside to answer it. When she returns, her expression is grim. The search team found something on the Blue Ridge Trail, a torn jacket that matches the description of what your mother was wearing Friday night, according to her neighbor. My legs give out. Kyle catches me, helps me back into the righted chair. There's more, Sandoval continues. We interviewed other neighbors this morning. Miss Jenkins, who lives directly behind your mother, reported hearing screams around 5 a.m. Saturday morning. Saturday, Lisa whispers. The day of your birthday. The timeline crystallizes horribly in my mind. While I was sleeping peacefully, my mother was fighting for her life. While I was at the gym, police were discovering her blood-soaked bedroom. While I was celebrating my birthday, everyone around me knew she was missing. A young officer appears at the door, beckoning to Sandoval. They confer in hushed tones before she turns back to us. We've just received the preliminary fingerprint report from your mother's house, she says. Multiple prints matching Robert Gaines were found throughout the home, including on the bedroom doorframe and bathroom sink. That doesn't prove anything, I say numbly. He used to go over there when they were dating. These prints were on top of fresh paint, Sandoval replies. Your mother repainted her bedroom last month, according to Miss Winters. These prints are new. The implications settle over me like a shroud. Robert was in my mother's bedroom recently, after they broke up, after she repainted, when he shouldn't have been there at all. We're bringing him in for questioning now, Sandoval says. I'll let you know what we learn. After she leaves, I turn to Kyle, Lisa, and Marcus. I want to know everything. Every single thing she told each of you that she didn't tell me. No more protecting me. Kyle nods, his face ashen. She started feeling uneasy about 2 months ago. Said she felt like someone was watching her. Then the phone calls started hang-ups in the middle of the night. She asked me to help her install new locks, Marcus adds. About 3 weeks ago, I went over after work one day. She seemed really nervous, kept checking the windows. She told me she thought Robert couldn't accept that it was over, Lisa says quietly, that he'd started showing up places she would be. The grocery store, her book club, just watching her from a distance. Each revelation is another knife in my chest. All these people knew pieces of what was happening to my mother, but no one had the full picture. No one realized how serious it was until it was too late. My phone buzzes. Unknown number. I answer immediately. Mr. Reynolds? This is Officer Patel from the search team. We've expanded our search area around where we found the jacket. He pauses. Sir, we've located what appears to be a shallow grave about half a mile from the trailhead. The world stops spinning. I can hear Lisa asking what's wrong, can feel Kyle's hand on my shoulder, but everything seems distant, underwater. Have you? Is she? I can't form the words. The grave appears to have been disturbed, Officer Patel continues. There are signs that something was buried and then removed. Removed? I repeat, uncomprehending. Yes, sir. We believe someone buried something or someone and then came back and dug it up again. We're processing the scene now for evidence. I hang up and relay the information to the others, my voice mechanical, detached. Lisa covers her mouth with her hand. Kyle sits down hard, his face gray. Marcus leans against the wall like his legs might give out. What does that mean? Lisa whispers. Why would someone bury her? And then, she doesn't finish the sentence. She doesn't have to. The door opens again. Detective Sandoval stands there with a man I don't recognize, both of their expressions serious. Mr. Reynolds, this is Detective Morris. He's been interviewing your mother's neighbors. She gestures for Morris to continue. Miss Winters Carroll provided additional information this morning, he says. She recalls hearing what sounded like a car door slamming around 5:30 a.m. Saturday, shortly after the screams Miss Jenkins reported. When she looked out her window, she saw a vehicle leaving your mother's driveway with its lights off. Was it Robert's car? I ask. Morris shakes his head. She couldn't identify the make or model in the darkness, but she's certain it wasn't Robert's red pickup. She described it as a dark-colored sedan. My eyes meet Marcus's across the room, like the one that was watching Mom's house. Detective Sandoval's phone rings. She answers, listens intently, then ends the call with a terse, "We'll be right there. They've found Robert Gaines," she tells us. "He's at the station now, and he's asking to speak with you specifically, Mr. Reynolds." Me? Why? He says he has information about your mother, information he'll only share with you. I stand up, steadier now. The shock is wearing off, replaced by a cold, focused anger. Then let's go hear what he has to say. The police station is a flurry of activity when we arrive. Officers move with purpose, their faces grim. Detective Sandoval leads us down a sterile hallway to an observation room with a large one-way mirror. On the other side sits Robert, my mother's ex-boyfriend, handcuffed to a metal table. They picked him up at his workplace, Sandoval explains. Auto repair shop on Maple. He came willingly, claims he has no idea what happened to your mother. I study him through the glass. Robert looks smaller than I remember, his broad shoulders hunched forward defensively. His normally neat beard is unkempt, and dark circles shadow his eyes. He doesn't look like a killer, he looks scared. What evidence do you have besides the fingerprints? I ask. His alibi for Friday night and Saturday morning doesn't check out, Sandoval says. He claimed he was at his brother's house, but his brother confirmed he left around midnight and didn't return until noon Saturday. That's the window when Mom disappeared, Kyle says quietly beside me. Sandoval nods. We also found traces of your mother's blood in his truck, just a few drops on the passenger side floor mat. My stomach lurches. I think of those threatening texts, his fingerprints throughout Mom's house, the blood in his truck. It all points to Robert, yet something doesn't feel right. He's requesting to speak with you specifically, Sandoval reminds me. You don't have to do this. I want to, I say firmly. I need to hear what he has to say. Lisa squeezes my hand. Are you sure? I'm sure. Sandoval leads me into the interrogation room. Robert's head snaps up when I enter, his eyes wide with recognition. Thank you for coming, he says, his voice hoarse. I didn't think you would. I sit across from him, keeping my face neutral despite the rage building inside me. They found Mom's blood in your truck. Robert flinches. I can explain that. She cut her hand when we met for coffee last week, Tuesday. She was helping me with some paperwork for my new apartment lease. She's still my emergency contact, and the landlord needed. Why were you in her house? I interrupt. After you broke up, after she repainted. Your fingerprints are everywhere. He looks down at his cuffed hands. She asked me to fix her garbage disposal 3 weeks ago, as a favor. We've been civil. The breakup wasn't as bad as everyone thinks. Then why the threatening texts? If I can't have you, no one will? That sounds pretty bad to me. Robert's face crumples. I was drunk that night. I apologized the next day. She forgave me. We've been talking again, trying to be friends. Friends? I scoff. She changed her locks because of you. Not because of me, Robert says, leaning forward urgently. Because of the letters. What letters? The threatening ones. She started getting them about 2 months ago. Plain white envelopes, no return address. Someone was watching her, detailing her daily routines. What time she left for work, what she wore, where she went for lunch. My blood runs cold. Why didn't she tell me about this? She didn't want to worry you. She thought it was probably nothing at first. Maybe a prank. Robert shakes his head. But they kept coming. Once a week, like clockwork. The last one had a picture of her sleeping. Someone had been in her house, taken a photo of her in her bed. That's when she changed the locks, I realize. And installed security cameras, Robert adds. Hidden ones. In the living room, kitchen, and outside her bedroom door. I stare at him. Security cameras? The police haven't mentioned any cameras. They're disguised as smoke detectors. I helped her set them up last month. The footage uploads to a cloud account automatically. I turn to the mirrored wall, knowing Sandoval is listening. The door opens seconds later. We didn't find any cameras, she says, entering the room. Just standard smoke detectors. Look again, Robert insists. They're Sentinel brand, black with a gray ring around the edge. The real smoke detectors in her house are white. She replaced 3 of them. Sandoval makes a call, dispatching officers back to my mother's house with these new details. She turns back to Robert. Why would she ask you for help with this instead of the police? She did go to the police, he says. Filed a report about the letters, but without any fingerprints or concrete evidence. There wasn't much they could do. Told her to document everything and call if she felt in immediate danger. My anger shifts from Robert to the system that failed to protect my mother. So what happened Friday night? If you weren't involved, why were you at her house during the exact window she disappeared? Robert's eyes widen. I wasn't. I swear. I was driving around most of the night after leaving my brother's. I couldn't sleep. I've been having trouble sleeping since we broke up. Convenient, I mutter. Check the traffic cameras, he pleads. I was on the highway, then parked at Riverfront Park for a few hours. I do that sometimes when I can't sleep. Just sit and watch the water. Sandoval makes another note. We'll verify that. There's something else, Robert says, his voice dropping. Something I didn't tell the other detectives because I wasn't sure if it was relevant. He takes a deep breath. Your mom was having problems at work with a colleague, Martin Voss. The name sounds vaguely familiar. The guy from accounting? He was up for the same promotion she got last month, director of operations. He didn't take it well when she was chosen instead of him. That's hardly unusual in corporate America, Sandoval points out. Competition for promotions doesn't typically lead to violence. It wasn't just the promotion, Robert says. He'd asked her out multiple times before. She always declined politely. But after she got the promotion, he started implying she only got it because of personal relationships with upper management. My jaw clenches. He was harassing her. She reported him to HR. There was an investigation. He was put on probation last week. Robert looks at me intently. The day before she disappeared, Sandoval's phone buzzes. She checks it, then looks up with renewed focus. Officers found the cameras. They're retrieving the footage now. My heart pounds with a mixture of hope and dread. If Mom really did install security cameras, they might show exactly what happened to her. The door opens and Kyle bursts in, his face flushed with urgency. They found something in the footage. You need to see this. We gather in a small conference room where a laptop has been set up. Detective Morris clicks through files until he finds the right timestamp. Friday, 11:47 p.m. The footage shows Mom's living room, dimly lit by a single lamp. Everything is quiet, normal. Then at 11:53 p.m., there's movement at the front door. The lock turns, and someone enters, a man in dark clothing, wearing gloves and a ski mask. He moves with purpose, checking rooms methodically before heading upstairs, out of the camera's view. That's not Robert, I say immediately. The build is all wrong. This guy's thinner. Keep watching, Morris says grimly. At 12:17 a.m., now Saturday morning, we hear a scream from upstairs, followed by a crash. The masked intruder appears at the top of the stairs, dragging something heavy. My mother's body limp and unresponsive. Blood trails behind them as he pulls her down the stairs. Lisa turns away, unable to watch. Kyle's hand grips my shoulder so tightly it hurts. I force myself to keep my eyes on the screen, needing to see everything. The intruder drags Mom through the living room toward the front door. Then he freezes, looking toward the window. He drops Mom and ducks out of sight just as headlights sweep across the room from outside. Someone pulled into the driveway, Sandoval narrates. Moments later, a second person enters through the front door, also masked, but clearly a different person, taller, broader. The two intruders stare at each other in apparent surprise before the second one lunges at the first. They struggle briefly before the first intruder breaks free and flees through the back door. The second intruder kneels beside my mother, checking for a pulse. Then, with surprising gentleness, lifts her and carries her out the front door. Two people, I whisper. There were two different people. And the second one took your mother, Sandoval confirms. But it doesn't appear to be a rescue. They didn't call 911 or seek help. Do we have footage of the vehicles? Kyle asks. Morris nods, clicking to another file. Exterior camera caught partial plates. We're running them now. My phone rings Lisa, who stepped out during the video. I answer immediately. You need to come out here, she says, her voice shaking. Marcus just got a call from work. It's about Martin Voss. I find Lisa and Marcus in the hallway, both looking stunned. Martin didn't show up for work yesterday or today, Marcus explains. Security just checked his office and found something disturbing. What? I demand. A shrine, basically. Photos of your mom everywhere, some taken through windows of her house, notes about her schedule, and blueprints of her home with entry points marked. The pieces click together with sickening clarity. He was stalking her. He was the one sending the letters. There's more, Marcus says, his face pale. They found receipts for a cabin rental in the mountains near where they found your mom's jacket. Sandoval, who has joined us in the hallway, immediately calls for a tactical team. Within minutes, the station transforms into a command center as officers prepare to raid raid the cabin. I'm going with you, I insist. Absolutely not, Sandoval replies. This is a potential hostage situation. We need trained personnel only. She's my mother, and we're going to do everything possible to bring her home safely, she says firmly. The best thing you can do is stay here and let us do our job. Reluctantly, I agree to wait at the station with Kyle, Lisa, and Marcus. The next 3 hours are the longest of my life. We barely speak, just sit in the conference room watching the clock tick forward with excruciating slowness. Finally, Sandoval calls. I put her on speaker. We found the cabin, she says, her voice tense. Signs of recent occupation. Blood on the floor, but no one's here. What does that mean? I ask, my voice breaking. It means they moved her, Sandoval replies. There's evidence someone was kept here against their will. Restraints attached to a bed. Food wrappers. Medical supplies. Medical supplies? Kyle asks. Bandages. Antiseptic. Possibly used to treat injuries. She pauses. We also found a journal. Martin's. It details his obsession with your mother, his rage over the promotion, and his plan to take her somewhere no one would ever find them. Where? I demand. We don't know yet, but we found something else. A receipt for a storage unit in Martin's name. We're heading there now. Another agonizing wait begins. I pace the conference room, unable to sit still. My mind races with terrible possibilities. Is Mom still alive? Is she hurt? What has Martin done to her? Lisa approaches cautiously, placing a hand on my arm to stop my pacing. There's something I need to tell you, she says, her voice small with guilt. About your mom. I turn to face her fully. What is it? She came to me about Martin specifically, about 6 weeks ago. She was really worried about how he was acting after she got the promotion. She asked me not to tell you because, Lisa swallows hard, because she knew you'd confront him, and she was afraid that would make things worse. You should have told me, I say, anger flaring. All of you should have told me what was happening to her. I know, Lisa whispers. I'm so sorry. I thought I was respecting her wishes, but I should have realized how serious it was. Kyle steps forward. Mom asked me to look into Martin too, asked if I could run a background check through my friend at the security firm. I found a restraining order from 5 years ago, another woman at another company. I told Mom to go to the police and she said she would. Did she? I ask. I don't know. She stopped talking about it, so I assumed she had handled it. Kyle looks down, ashamed. I should have followed up. The weight of all these revelations, all these secrets kept from me feels crushing. Everyone knew pieces of what was happening to my mother, but no one saw the complete picture until it was too late. My phone rings again. Detective Sandoval. We found the storage unit, she says without preamble. It was empty, but there was blood on the floor, and a map with a location circled in red. An abandoned hunting cabin about 30 miles north of here. Is that where you think he took her? I ask. We're heading there now. It's remote, difficult to access. We've called in helicopter support. What can we do? I ask, desperate to help somehow. There's a pause. Actually, there is something. Martin left journals in the storage unit. Pages and pages about your mother. If you could come read through them, you might spot something we'd miss. Some clue about his intentions or what he might do next. We're on our way, I say immediately. As we drive to the storage facility, I can't stop thinking about the 2 intruders in my mother's house. Martin was clearly one of them, the first one, who attacked her. But who was the second? Who took her from Martin, and why? The answer might be somewhere in those journals, and if finding it helps bring my mom home alive, I'll read every twisted word Martin Voss ever wrote. The call comes at 3:47 a.m. I've been sitting in the same hard plastic chair for nearly 16 hours, staring at the same patch of faded linoleum on the police station floor. My phone vibrates against my thigh, jarring me from a half-sleep state where my mother's blood-soaked bedroom walls keep replaying behind my eyelids. We found her, Detective Sandoval says, her voice tight with controlled urgency. She's alive. The world stops, restarts. My heart hammers so violently I can feel it in my throat. Where? It's all I can manage to say. Abandoned hunting cabin, about 40 miles north of the city. Paramedics are with her now. She's injured but conscious. They're transporting her to Memorial Hospital. Lisa, who's been dozing against my shoulder, jerks upright when I stand suddenly. Kyle, who was pacing near the vending machines, rushes over. They found her, I tell them, already moving toward the door. She's alive. The drive to Memorial is a blur. Kyle insists on driving when he sees my hands shaking too badly to get the key in the ignition. Lisa sits in the back, making calls to Marcus, to my boss, explaining why I won't be at work, to her bookstore manager saying she needs more time off. When we arrive at the emergency entrance, Detective Sandoval is waiting, her face showing the first real smile I've seen since this nightmare began. She's in surgery, she explains as she leads us through the sliding doors. Multiple lacerations, dehydration, a broken wrist, and 2 cracked ribs. But the doctors say she's going to make it. What happened? Kyle asks, his voice cracking. Who had her? Martin Voss, Sandoval confirms, stopping at the surgical waiting area. We found him at the cabin. He was already dead when we arrived. Dead? I repeat, trying to process this new information. How? Your mother happened, Sandoval says, and there's something like respect in her voice. From what we can piece together, he was keeping her restrained, but she managed to free herself. There was a struggle. She struck him with a fire poker, self-defense. Clearly, he hit his head when he fell. I sink into a chair, trying to reconcile this information with the gentle woman who taught me to identify wildflowers and birds. She left us a trail, Sandoval continues, sitting beside me. Deliberately. The jacket on the hiking trail? She tore it off while he was moving her to the second location. The blood in the storage unit? She cut herself intentionally and smeared it where someone would find it if they were looking. She knew we'd be looking, Kyle says quietly. She never stopped fighting, Sandoval confirms. Even when he moved her to that final cabin, she kept working on her restraints. The rope burns on her wrists show she'd been trying to get free for days. A doctor approaches, still wearing surgical scrubs. Family of Diane Reynolds? Yes, I say, standing quickly. I'm her son. She's stable, the doctor says. We've repaired the worst of the lacerations and set her wrist. The surgery went well. She's being moved to recovery now, and then to a private room. You should be able to see her in about an hour. Relief hits me so powerfully my knees nearly buckle. Lisa steadies me, her arm around my waist, just like that terrible moment when Carol first told me Mom was missing. There's something else you should know, Sandoval says once the doctor leaves. Martin confessed everything before he died. Your mother was conscious enough to hear it and remember. He was obsessed with her for months, convinced they were meant to be together. When she got the promotion instead of him, something snapped. The threatening letters, I say. Yes, and when she reported him to HR, he decided if he couldn't have her, no one could. Sandoval hesitates, but there's more. Robert was there that night too. What? Your mother said Robert had been texting her, asking to talk. She finally agreed to meet him for coffee earlier that day, Friday. She told him about the letters, about Martin. Robert was concerned enough that he drove by her house late that night just to check on her. That's when he saw Martin's car, the second intruder on the security footage. It was Robert. Robert confronted Martin in the house, Sandoval continues. There was a struggle and Martin fled. Robert found your mother injured and took her to his truck, intending to get her to a hospital, but Martin followed them and ran them off the road. He knocked Robert unconscious and took your mother. Is Robert okay? I ask, surprised by my concern for the man I'd been convinced was responsible. Concussion, some cuts and bruises. He's been helping us search since he regained consciousness. He's the one who remembered Martin mentioning a hunting cabin once. An hour later, a nurse leads us to Mom's room. I hesitate at the doorway, suddenly terrified of what I'll see. Kyle squeezes my shoulder, and we enter together. Mom looks small in the hospital bed, her skin pale against the white sheets. Her right wrist is in a cast, and bandages cover parts of her arms and neck. But her eyes are open, alert, and when she sees us, her face transforms with a smile that makes my chest ache. My boys, she whispers, her voice hoarse. I'm at her side in an instant, carefully taking her uninjured hand. Kyle moves to her other side, tears streaming openly down his face. I knew you'd find me, she says. I just had to stay alive long enough. Mom, I choke out, unable to say more past the lump in my throat. I'm so sorry, she continues. I should have told you what was happening. I thought I could handle it myself. No, I'm sorry, I tell her. Everyone knew something was wrong, except me. Lisa, Kyle, Marcus, they all knew pieces of it. I made them promise, Mom says, squeezing my hand weakly. I didn't want to worry you. You've always been my protector, ever since your father died. I wanted to protect you for once. Lisa steps forward, her eyes red-rimmed. I should have told you, she says, addressing both me and my mother. When you told me about Martin following you, about the letters, I should have made sure you went to the police. I should have told someone. Mom shakes her head. I did go to the police, filed a report about the letters, but without evidence. She trails off, wincing as she shifts position. What happened? I ask. After Martin took you from Robert? Mom's eyes cloud with the memory. He took me to that first cabin, kept saying we were meant to be together, that he'd forgiven me for not seeing it sooner. When I tried to reason with him, he'd get angry. She touches one of the bandages on her arm. He had me tied to a bed, but he'd loosen the restraints when he brought food. That's when you started leaving clues, Kyle says. Mom nods. I knew he'd have to move me eventually. The first cabin was too close to hiking trails. Someone might hear me if I screamed. So I tore off a piece of my jacket when he was transferring me to his car, managed to drop it where someone might find it. And the blood in the storage unit? I ask. I'd gotten one hand free, used a nail I found to cut my arm, left blood wherever I could. Then at the final cabin, I worked on the restraints for hours while he slept. Her voice strengthens with pride. Those self-defense classes I took after your father died finally paid off. You fought back, I say, a strange mixture of horror and admiration washing through me. When he untied me to use the bathroom, I was ready. I'd worked my hand free enough to grab the fire poker when he wasn't looking. I only meant to knock him out, to escape. Her eyes fill with tears. I didn't mean to kill him. It was self-defense, Sandoval says from the doorway. There won't be any charges. A week later, Mom is released from the hospital. We bring her to my apartment, where Lisa has prepared the guest room. The doctors say she'll make a full physical recovery, though the psychological healing will take longer. That evening, Lisa brings out a cake box from the refrigerator, the same expensive cake from the downtown bakery that she'd ordered for my birthday party. I saved it, she explains, setting it on the coffee table. It seemed important, somehow. Mom smiles, her eyes crinkling at the corners despite the fading bruise on her cheek. A birthday cake in a hospital room, that's appropriate. We never really got to celebrate, I say. Then let's celebrate now, Mom suggests. Not just your birthday, but being together, being alive. Kyle lights the candles, all 32 of them, and they sing to me, their voices creating a harmony that feels like healing. As I blow out the candles, I make a wish not for myself, but for all of us, for recovery, for peace, for no more secrets between us. Later, after Mom has gone to bed, Lisa and I sit on the balcony, watching the city lights. I'm still sorry, she says quietly, for keeping your mom's concerns from you. I understand why you did it, I tell her, and I mean it. You were respecting her wishes. Never again, Lisa promises. No more secrets, no matter who asks me to keep them. I think about how close we came to losing Mom, how easily things could have gone differently if any one of us had shared what we knew sooner. If Kyle had followed up about the restraining order, if Lisa had told me about Martin's stalking, if Marcus had reported the suspicious car. No more secrets, I agree. 1 year later, we gather in my apartment again, the same people who were at my ill-fated 32nd birthday party. Kyle, Marcus, Eric, and all the others who left early that night, who knew something was wrong but didn't know how to tell me. Mom sits in the place of honor, her wrist long healed, her smile genuine again. She still jumps at unexpected noises and doesn't like being alone at night, but the therapist says she's making remarkable progress. Lisa brings out another cake from the same downtown bakery, 33 candles this time. Happy birthday, Mom says, squeezing my hand, and happy anniversary. I know she means the anniversary of her survival, of her return to us. As I look around at the faces of the people I love, I realize that despite the horror of what happened, we've all emerged stronger, more honest with each other, more appreciative of the time we have together. When I blow out the candles, I don't need to make a wish. Everything I could wish for is already here in this room.